We're back.
So we are just going to continue the story of what's happened. The last thing that happened was that whole conversation where I was being recommended by the lead pastor to not be a deacon anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So we really, at this time, we're kind of, starting to talk about not being a part of the church anymore. And I had a conversation with the senior pastor on Wednesday, which was the 7th, I believe, of August. But going into that, and you remember a little bit more detail about this, but going into that, I was ready to just tell the pastor all of the things that were wrong that were happening, and really ready to leave.
You did tell him what was wrong. You met at Chick-fil-A, right?
Mm-hmm. Our spot.
The spot that you would meet. And you told him, did you talk about...
we talked about whenever the pastor damned me. We talked about when the pastor... what was the other thing that he did?
Did he lie about the money? Did you talk about that part?
I don't think we talked about that part.
Okay, but you would later.
We talked about how he damned me, and we talked about... I really can't remember. We're going to have to do this again.
No, you don't have to do it again. I think it's actually really important to see this because this is a product of abuse. The fact that he does not remember it. Yeah. I think it is important, though. You brought up the issues.
I definitely brought it up. I was not okay with how the pastor had treated me.
Right.
And I was saying that.
Yeah.
And
maybe you didn't even finish saying everything until he said what he said.
But I was saying that, and the senior pastor that I was talking to at the time was like, well, we can deal with all those things if you're in the right place to deal with it. Mm-hmm. So again, let me just tell you, this is how it always was. Mm-hmm. You are always the problem. You're always the one in the wrong.
It's always your fault.
It's always your fault.
It's always your fault.
But then it never comes back to them actually dealing with it. They would. Well, he basically said, first of all, with the conversation that I had that Monday, he tried to explain using an example how I had lied to him, how I was leading the pastor on saying that we were on the same page about not giving up Sundays.
So he gaslit you further.
Right. But I knew that I hadn't lied, but then I was starting to believe the reasoning. He's very crafty.
Crafty.
He's so crafty. Mm-hmm. So I was believing that. Mm-hmm. I was starting to believe that, but I was still like, this is just still not right. But the more the conversation went on, the more I was believing what he was saying. And I spoke to him the most direct that I've almost ever spoken to him, because you don't say something bad about a pastor to another pastor. Like, that's just like, you can't say like, I don't like this. That just doesn't work. But I was. And so it was probably one of the most intense conversations, but it came down to, okay, I was wrong. I lied. I'll repent for that. Mm. But really what I was wanting to do, and I remember thinking this, is we had already been talking about leaving, right? And so many people had left the church in the past, and it was always bad. It was always like the person that left was really bad. The person that left had done this sin, this whatever. And I was like, I am not going to do that. If I'm going to leave, I'm going to leave
the right way.
The right way, which there is no right way.
No, there will never be a right way to leave. And that is not a good sign.
Right. The fact that you can't leave.
The fact that you can't leave.
Not a good
red flag.
Yeah, red flag.
Red flag.
But they won't ever say that you can't leave.
No.
It's just when
your
you
choice.
do.
What are you talking about? It's your choice. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
But then you do, and you're like the horrible person.
Oh, yeah.
Even, I still have yet to this day hear from them of anything bad that I've done in leaving.
Right.
Like, they've never told me. They just don't like it, and they won't talk to me. Mm. But, so... yeah, this conversation was pretty bad. Pretty bad.
So he comes back home, and I'm like, so how did it go? Because while I doubted that it would go in the positive direction, I was just seeing like okay, what did Jonathan say? Like, what is Jonathan wanting to do now? And so I ask him, I say, hey, how did it go? And we sit down in the kitchen, and he's like, I think it's my fault. I think I didn't have. Well,
Because I started believing it.
You started believing the gaslighting. You started believing it. And he's like, I think I did it wrong. I think we're in the wrong. And I said to him, I said, no. What we just experienced was real. I was like, that was not okay. They cannot do that to you. And I told him, I literally used the word, you were gaslit, because I knew what that meant. And I was like, that is what happened. Well, he was kind of still going through like this internal struggle. And so he kind of like, he couldn't handle it anymore.
I got mad.
He got mad.
And I left.
And he left. I was like, where are you going? He wouldn't tell me where he was going.
So
and
I kind of want to add in here, because the reason I left is I went to the head pastor's house to talk to him, because the whole thing is I had to reconcile with him.
It's not really the head pastor. They call them the pastor emeritus, but really he functions as a head pastor.
He's the one that has the final say-so in the end.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I was also the reason why I went to his house, and I was saying like I didn't want there to be some sin that I had done at the end and was bad and leaving. So I was like, I'm going to handle this. I'm going to be good.
You were still in the mode of, I'm going to do this the best way.
Things. Yeah.
You were doing Matthew 18, technically.
I was.
Or the way we learned Matthew 18.
I was going to them. But like I said in the past videos, you can't do that.
There's no going to them.
No. They're going to say you're wrong and you're the one that's got to do it. But I went to his house and I spoke to him and I apologized for lying to him and all of that stuff.
Because you were trying to
I was like, hey, if you're saying you're the pastor, you are not wrong. I'm in the wrong. But some really funny things that he said to me in that conversation was he was questioning my salvation again, but he was like, so do you think you're saved? And I was like, yeah, I know I'm saved. And then he was like, well, if you're going to function as a deacon, I want you to be like 60, 70% saved, not just like 8 to 10% saved.
Yeah.
Because, and I was just like, okay. And I guess he was trying to like talk about maturity or something. I don't know. But like, regardless, it was weird. It was not biblical whatsoever.
You can't be 50, 70%.
No, you're either 100%. Yeah, so there is none of this middle stuff.
And then what else would you have to say?
The thing too that I remember in that conversation was I started seeing the absurdity of some of the things he was saying.
Yeah.
And he also started talking about that all this stuff that I was going to do if I left the church. He started talking about you specifically in that time. And that's when I was like, we're not going there. Because we can share some more of our history, but that had happened in the past. And I knew I wasn't going to let that happen again. And so when that started happening, and I saw his complete lack of actually dealing with anything that...
Lack of accountability.
No accountability. Zero. That's what we're going to call it now, accountability. But he didn't.
I was scared to death. Scared to death for Jonathan. I called this abuse hotline, and it was really for like domestic abuse, and that did not fit. I was not having domestic abuse, but I just needed someone to talk to, and at the time I had no one to talk to. So I called this hotline, and I'm like, my husband is being abused by his pastor. And then I had the Find My, and I'm like, I saw that you were at his house.
Yep.
And my heart just dropped, and I'm crying like hysterically on the phone. I'm crying hysterically. And the lady didn't really have anything to help me with because it wasn't necessarily like, it wasn't domestic abuse. But she's like, you're so strong and you can do this. And he has, you love him and he has a good support. And so she was at least like there for me. And she could tell like it was a very serious situation, but she wasn't really able. So I get off the phone and I pray like harder than, well, I prayed really hard in my fast, but like I was praying so hard. But God answered my prayer.
Because that time, things changed for me.
Because even while you were at that house, even though I thought, oh my goodness, there is no way we're ever getting out. Oh my goodness, he's going to go right back into it. He's going to go right back into it. He actually was coming out of it.
Yeah.
And so you came back.
And at that point, I was like, this was on a Wednesday, so we had Wednesday night service. And I was, because of the whole conversation about our trip and needing to change it and everything, I was like, well, let's change it. So we were going to go from Friday, come back Monday. So we changed it to leave on Thursday, which was the very next day.
I did not want to do that.
But we left on Thursday to come back Sunday night for the service to follow the pastor and what he was saying.
Because I didn't believe in what he was saying. He was not operating in a godly way. He was being a controlling person. And so I knew that it wasn't actual, genuine godliness. It was his control pattern. So I was like, we're gone. Like, we can't do this, but.
So I came back and I was just like, let's go to church. And I just wanted to get to vacation.
Yeah.
That's all I cared about right then.
Yeah.
And we did. And at that point at the church service, one of the pastors, like the pastor who I had talked to at Chick-fil-A, he was like, so how about your wife? Does she believe the things you believe? Completely ignoring everything that I had said about the wrong that they had done. And it was just more proof to me that they weren't ever going to deal with what they had done. And I think it was the lying about the money. Like the pastor the Wednesday before had lied to the entire congregation about his pay. And I called him out on it. And I was like, that's not right. And they're like, well, we'll deal with that later. We need to deal with you. And I'm just like, they never would deal with their sin. Their sin is fine, according to them. So we went and we came home and we left that next day. We went to Nashville, and again, Chris Stapleton, excellent concert. But
that was the only good part of the whole trip.
That was literally the only good part of the whole trip. Horrible trip. And it was just because of the
abuse that we were enduring,
torment that we had been
and also that we realized we couldn't continue there anymore, and we knew what that meant. It meant that we wouldn't be able to talk to people that we loved. It meant
and we still love. Yeah, we still love them.
We still currently love them,
and we just can't talk to them.
Yeah,
and
but we knew what it meant. We knew that relationships would be broken. We knew that we would hurt people that didn't deserve to be hurt.
But we're not the ones actually hurting them, because we are not the ones that are refusing to talk to them. They are refusing to talk to us.
Well, but it's because they're not allowed to talk to us. It's not really just it's not their decision. They're not allowed. They're literally not allowed to talk to us. And they also have been. So we also knew what happened when people would leave, and people would basically horrible things would be said about people. And if you're in there, you're like, well, I don't agree with that. Like, I don't want to go and join that person and being a horrible person. And so, so that we were knowing, we knew the pattern because we had seen it so many times, and we knew it was going to happen. And so we were kind of coming to terms with that.
But that Wednesday night, we'll talk about this in more detail. We don't have time right now. I received a text message from the pastor that sealed the deal on us leaving.
Oh, yeah.
So more to come. This next one is going to be
a doozy.
Yep. Thanks for watching again. We are excited to continue to show y'all just our story, and hope that this can help you or any of your friends or anybody that you might know in this situation. So thanks again. Bye.
Bye.